Okay, we ran the wires through the new holes and I sealed them with hot glue, or you can use clear silicone, it'll work just fine. And now we can put the light bulbs into the projectors. So simply unscrew the cap, take out the bulb, and this, put the rubber grommet through the cap, take out the cap, and take off the spacers that just hold the bulbs. Do not touch the glass with your fingers. You will leave oils on the bulb, which will cause it to burn out prematurely. And simply insert the bulb into the projector. And use the bulb locking clip to secure the bulb. Now the way you do this, the projector has the bulb holder, which is this piece right here. And the way you secure it, you insert these two pins into the top two holes on the bulb holder, and then on the bottom it's gonna click in, and you push it down and slide it to the side. You'll see there's two slots there where this would click in, where this would lock in. So simply from the bottom, put this up just like that on the side of the bulb, then put these two pins into the two holes on top, just like this, and then the bottom piece you will slide into the two bottom halves. And you can use needle nose pliers to grab on to the locking clip, and here you can see this is going to lock in like this, just like that. And now this holds the bulb very securely. Once you insert the bulb, take your new rubber caps that came with your BKMOTO kit, and what you want to do is slide the wires through the middle opening on the cap, and then secure the rubber grommet, this piece that's on the light bulb. It has two halves, so you want to get this part of the rubber cap in between these two pieces right here, so it will stay secure. So simply pull the front part of the rubber grommet through the hole. So this is how the back looked like, and pop this out like this, pop the cap out, and this is how the front, that's how the front looks like. And now simply hold the two wires and slide the cap forward towards the headlight, and put the cap on the headlight. And that's it. You just closed off the back of your headlight very cleanly. Now put in the second light bulb and the second rubber cap. And also after you do this, you want to put the plugs on all the wires in the back of the headlight. So we have the white wires, which are for the halo rings and the demon eyes. And since we marked them, I mean here you can see them, they're all different length also. So it's not a big deal finding the pairs, because all the wires are 3 different lengths. But sometimes they'll be the same length, so it's good to label them like we did before with the dots. So simply insert the pins into the plugs, and you can see the plugs, they have 3 holes in them, and you want to use the 2 outer holes, don't use the middle one. So they just click in. Okay, and then for these, we'll have to raise the wings. We collapsed when we're removing the plug, so just raise them slightly. So just raise them slightly and put on the plugs. So on these plugs, there's a square, right here, there's a square side and a rounded side. So the red wire goes on the squared side and the black wire goes on the rounded side. That's it. This is considered to be a very clean install, when all the wires are coming out neatly from the side, and the only wires we have through the rubber cap are the HID bulb wires. And all of these will be neatly tucked to the side when the headlight is installed, so most of the wires won't be visible on the bike. And I'll do the same thing on the other side of the headlight. With your light bulbs, you will receive these short wires. These are just test leads for the ballasts. This plugs into your HID ballast, and you can plug in the ballast to the light bulb and connect these red-black wires right to the battery. So this is just a test lead if you want to quickly fire up the HIDs for testing or aiming. You don't really need to do any aiming here, since the projector is already fixed by the mounting plate. But anyway, this comes with the kit and you don't really need to use these. So if you have these left over after you install everything, don't worry about it. This is not something that you need for the installation. So just do the second side and you'll be ready to seal up your headlights. Okay, everything is mounted and we are ready to reseal the headlights. And before we do that, if you're doing a Ninja 636 ZX6R 2013 and up headlights, you would need to remove all this plastic trim inside of the headlight. Basically all of this trim needs to come out, on the headlight, it's very easy. You have it's all screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the back side, and the whole chest plastic trim comes out, and all you're left with is the clear lenses. So Ninja 300 headlights, they don't have all this trim inside, but 636 headlights do. So if you're getting our kit for the ZX6R 636 with halo rings and the shrouds, you would need to remove all this trim. If you're getting the kit just as an HID dual headlight upgrade without the shrouds and the halos, then you can leave this trim in the headlight, and that way you will have a stock looking headlight when you're done, just with the upgraded HID projectors for dual headlights. But if you're getting the halos and the shrouds, then you need to remove all the trim pieces. So to get it removed, simply unscrew all the screws in the back. A small screwdriver. Actually, I don't think this needs to come out. Yeah, you only need to unscrew 4 screws. Only the big screws to take out the trim. The small screws just hold the chrome pieces here onto this piece. So basically 1, 2, 3, 4 bigger size screws, and all the plastic trim comes right out. So you need to, once you remove the trim, then you're ready to put the headlights back together and put the lenses on and reseal the headlights. Projectors are mounted, and now we are ready to seal the headlight. To reseal the headlight, we will apply new glue. The glue that you need to purchase is called butyl windshield sealant. You don't have to look for this exact box, but any auto parts store would sell this. Basically what you need is a windshield sealant ribbon, and inside it looks like this. It's just a spool of butyl glue, and it's basically a ribbon. And in your auto parts store it would be called windshield ribbon or windshield sealant or butyl windshield, any of those words. But it's basically a windshield sealing kit, and the box would be pretty much this shape in your auto parts store. So basically what you need to do is, you already scraped off all the old glue from the inside of the seam, and you'll be basically applying this ribbon. So simply take the ribbon and start stretching it inside of the seam. The ribbon's probably going to be too thick for the seam, but you can simply stretch it as you're applying it. And all you need to do is just fill in the channel, the seam, with this glue, and stuff it in there. some more. And continue applying it. So keep just stretching it a little bit so it fills in the gap. That's it. We've installed the new glue sealant. And now there are two ways to seal these headlights. Here you can see how the sealant is installed. We just shoved it into the seam. Now you need to heat up this glue in order to seal the headlights properly. There are two methods you can heat up the glue. The first method is using a heat gun. This is an inexpensive heat gun. You can buy it in any hardware store. Costs about $20–30. And all you do is basically turn on the heat gun in high setting, hold it about 6 inches away from the glue, and move slowly while heating up the glue in the seam. And then once the glue is hot, press in the lenses and clamp them with clamps, or hold them tight until the glue cools down. If you don't have a heat gun and you don't want to buy one, you can warm up the entire headlight assembly in your oven. To do this, you will take the lens and then lightly insert, close it lightly. Don't press it all the way in. Just close it lightly into the glue. Then take the whole headlight assembly and heat it up in your oven. What you need to do is heat up the oven to 225 degrees Fahrenheit. Preheat the oven for a few minutes so it's already hot when you're putting the headlight in, and keep the temperature at 225. Place the headlight on top of a towel and into the center of your headlight. Make sure none of the plastic parts is touching any metal in the oven, and keep the headlight in the oven at 225 degrees for 6 minutes. And this will get the headlight hot enough so then you can press in the lenses into the glue and seal the lights. I'm using a heat gun, so I will show you how to do it with a heat gun. So turn on the heat gun on high setting. Hold it about 6 inches away and work your way slowly around the headlight while heating up the glue. Now the glue is hot enough, so all we do is take the lenses, in this case we have LED strips here, so we'll run the wires out the back of the headlight also from the LED strips. Right, basically tuck them away behind the corners of the reflectors. One wire. Second wire. And now simply press the lenses into the groove. Keep pressing the headlight in, make sure all the grooves close. I like using clamps, it makes life much easier and does your work for you basically. And I can keep moving the clamps around to make sure everything's clamped tight. This also helps to tighten everything down. Now the headlight is sealed. Everything's closed tight. Let this cool down for a few minutes and your headlight will be sealed. And now we'll be wiring the BKMOTO HID projector kit. This tutorial is for the Ninja 300 and the Kawasaki ZX6R 636 2013 and up, and it also applies to the 2011 and up ZX10R and might apply to a few other bike models. On the Ninja 300 and Ninja 636, your stock pigtails, basically these plugs, which connect into your motorcycle, and on the other end they connect to the light bulbs, are located on your rubber caps, and they need to be removed from the rubber caps. On the ZX10R, these pigtails are sticking out from the back of the headlight. They're coming out of the back of the headlight, so you'll be cutting off this plug inside of your headlight and then pulling out the wires from the back of the headlight while building your headlight. So in the Ninja 636 and 300, in this case we'll be cutting off the plug inside of the rubber cap and then reusing the stock pigtails to wire your new HIDs and halos into the motorcycle. So first step, cut off this H7 plug. You no longer need it. You can throw it away. And pull out the stock pigtail from the cap. You can also pull this off so you can see easier which wire is which. And cut off the second one. And you don't need these caps anymore. Our kit comes with new rubber caps, which will be used instead of these. So you can toss them away as well. On the ZX10R you have plastic caps, so you keep those, and you're gonna use the same plastic caps that you have. Ninja 300 and 636, you don't reuse the rubber caps. Now onto the wiring. Strip these wires. And let's get started. This particular setup has dual halos, so a smaller halo ring, a bigger halo ring, and demonized in the headlight. And we'll be using two on-off switches to control the headlight. The first switch would control your low beam HIDs, so those are your main headlight bulbs in low beams. So you can turn those off and just have the halo rings working and your demonized working. And the second switch would be wired into your dual halos. So you can turn off the halo rings and only have the demonized without anything else on. And your demonized would be wired straight to the low beam positive and negative. That way they will basically always be on when the bike is running. But once you turn on the first switch, you turn on your HIDs, you no longer see the demon eyes. And the red or blue or green demon eye just becomes a white HID light. So there's really almost no need to put a separate switch on the demon eyes. But you could, if you wanted to, you can put a third switch on the demon eyes. Now these are your stock pigtails. On the Ninja 300 and 636, you're going to have one white plug and one black plug. The white plug is your low beam plug, the black plug is your high beam plug. On the ZX6R, both plugs are black, so it doesn't matter, they're the same plugs. So you're going to treat one black plug as your low beam plug and the other black plug is your high beam plug on the ZX10. Now let's look at the plugs closer. If you hold the plug exactly like I'm holding it, with the opening facing you, and so you can see the pins, I will identify what each wire is. Because both of these wires are black, so you can't tell, there's no color coding on them, so you can't tell which one's positive, which one's negative. If you want to verify which one's positive and which one is negative, the easiest way to do this is if you have a voltmeter, you basically plug this into the bike, plug in the plug to the bike, start the bike, and then put a voltmeter on these ends, and the voltmeter will tell you which one's positive, which one's negative. Another easy way to test this is to take a CCFL inverter that came with your kit. This powers the halo rings. What you will do basically is just connect a halo ring, any ring from your headlight, on the end to the white plug, and then while this is also like the same as before as the voltmeter, while this plug is connected to your bike and the bike is running, the engine is running, you will take the red wire and connect it to one wire on this pigtail and the black wire to another one, and see if the ring lights up. If it lights up, then you know which one. The red would symbolize the positive, the black would symbolize the negative. If it doesn't light up, then connect the red and black in opposite order. Connect the red one where the black was and the black where the red was, and now it should light up. If it lights up in this order, then you can identify that the red wire is your positive. Where the red wire is going is your positive wire and the black one is your negative. But I already identified these wires, and most motorcycles, in most Ninja 636, 300 and ZX10s, if you hold the plug just like this with the opening facing you, the bottom wire right here is your low beam positive, and the top wire is your low beam negative, ground wire. So the bottom is your positive low beam, and the upper wire is your negative ground wire. And the same thing on the black plug. The bottom one is your high beam positive, and the upper one is your high beam negative. And that's if you hold the plug with the opening facing you, where you can see the pins. So if you're wired everything exactly like this video is showing and something, and the lights are just not coming on, double check the polarity of these wires. I described them correctly, but in case you mix them up or the bike is not wired the same as the video, then you can just double check which one's positive and negative and just make sure everything is wired correctly to the positive and negative wires. Okay, let's get into the wiring. So now the basic concept is in this. We will be using your low beam positive wire, which is here the bottom wire, to power everything. Your low beam positive wire basically provides a 12-volt current once the bike is running, and this would power it would trigger the HIDs to come on through a switch. Then it would supply power to your halo rings and to the demonize. And if you have LED strips, this is also where you're gonna wire in the LED strips. So basically, any accessory you have from the kit, the positive wire would always be powered from the low beam positive, and all the grounds, like the black wires from the inverters or the black wires from the LED strips, they all get bunched up and go to the low beam negative wire. So all the grounds are always common grounds, so you just bunch them up all together and connect them directly to the low beam negative wire. Also, with your kit, you'll receive our brand new heavy duty dual output by xenon relay harness. This harness has a few different functions. What it does is basically connects to your battery and into your motorcycle, high beam, low beam, and ground. And what it does is it offloads the electric load from your stock wiring, and it draws its power directly from the battery. So your HIDs would not be stressing your motorcycle battery. And the second function it has, this relay box also controls your high beam, low beam function. So this controller box would control the high beam solenoids in your projectors, and it powers the ballasts for the HIDs. It's a very nice relay, and everything is labeled. Every wire that you need to know is labeled, so you know where everything is going. But essentially, you have this lead right here with a fuse box. This wire runs to your battery and connects to the positive plus terminal on the battery. Then you have two of these connections. They're labeled as ground minus. You need to ground these two connections, and basically the easiest way to ground this is you're gonna unscrew a bolt from your motorcycle, and that bolt has to be bolted into the bike's main frame, the big metal frame on the bike. So you're gonna unscrew a bolt from the bike's frame somewhere on the side of the bike, put the bolt through the hole here, and put the bolt back into the bike in the same spot. And now the ground will be grounded to the chassis on the motorcycle. Don't put this through a bolt in front of the forks. So basically, any bolt behind the forks is fine. Like as you're sitting on the bike, from the forks towards the back of the bike, that's where you want to ground it. Don't ground it somewhere to a plastic grommet, somewhere that's holding up to a bolt that's holding one of the fairings. That's not a grounding point. So don't use any bolts that are in front of the forks, like what the headlight is. Use any of the bolts that go to the actual metal frame on the bike behind the forks, basically between the forks and the battery. And then you have these two big plugs right here. These simply connect to your HID ballasts. And you have these two little plugs. This plug and this one. These two little plugs, these connect to the back of the projector. You're gonna have a matching male plug for these, and these plugs control the function of your high beam, low beam inside the projectors. Now, to wire this relay into this setup, well, it's very simple. We have 3 wires coming out of the relay. These are the control wires, and they're all labeled. The white wire is your low beam positive. So the low beam positive signal from your pigtail needs to be connected here to the white low beam positive, and it's going to go through a switch, so we can manually shut this off. So once the white wire gets power, your low beams come on. The yellow wire is your high beam positive. So the high beam positive always gets connected the same way. You're going to take your lower wire, which is the high beam positive, and you connect it directly to the yellow. from your high beam pigtail. That always gets connected the same way, no matter how many switches or which setup you have. So the high beam positive goes directly to yellow. And this, once you put the high beams, this wire becomes hot and it has electric current, and it triggers the relay turn on high beams. And the black wire is a ground wire, and the best spot to connect it is to your high beam pigtail and to the high beam ground wire, which is the top wire. And just connect the high beam ground to the black wire on the relay. Now let's connect these. So we'll get our high beam pigtail out of the way. So the easiest way to make connections is using butt connectors, crimp connectors. This is a heat shrink crimp connector. Can be bought on Radio Shack. And this is a simple crimping tool to crimp it. These are very easy to use, and if you heat these up with a torch lighter or a heat gun, they will actually shrink and create a watertight seal on your connection. So let's start by taking our high beam pigtail and connecting our high beam positive into the yellow wire on the relay. And I crimped the high beam positive, and now we take the yellow strip these a little bit. Okay, so let's take our high beam positive, which we already crimped, and connect it directly to yellow high beam positive on the relay. So we have our high beam positive connected directly to yellow. And now let's take our high beam negative and connect that to the black wire on the relay. And that's it. We took care of our high beam circuit. So the high beams are out of the way. So the only wire we have left is the white low beam positive wire. And now these four wires, these wires go to your CCFL inverters. These power the halos and the demonize. So in this case, like I said, we have dual halos, 2 rings per projector, and demonize. So that's a total of 6 rings. So you will receive 2 dual output inverters, which power the dual angelized, dual halos, and then you'll receive 2 single output inverters, which look like this, look the same but with 1 wire, and these will power the demonize. And these inverters connect to these power wires to get power. So what we need to do right now, we're gonna take two of the wires for two of the inverters, which will be the wires for our dual halo inverters. So that's two dual output inverters. And we take the red wires, which are the positives, and we twist them together because we want to combine two inverters into the same circuit. Then you take the black wires, which are the grounds, and you twist the black wires together. And then we're going to take the other two plugs and wires and do the same thing. Twist the two red wires together. And twist the black wires together. And now take both pairs and simply take both pairs of black wires and twist the four of them together. That's not combining the circuit, this is basically a mutual grounding point, because blacks are the negative grounds and all grounds are usually always bunched together. So now we have two separate circuits because the reds are separate, but the grounds are together because the grounds are always common grounds. That's not going to affect the circuit in any way. Now let's take a step back. I just want to cover the most basic setup you can have. Is basically if you're getting our HID projector kit as a pure lighting upgrade, so you're only getting HID projectors. No halos, no demonized, no LED strips, just HID projectors for great lighting upgrade and dual headlight setup. And you're not getting any switches, and you're not getting any extras, just a great lighting upgrade. All you need to do, in this case we already took care of the high beam circuit, and all we have to do is just get power now to the low beam white wire. So we take our white plug, the low beam plug, we take the low beam positive wire from that plug, and all you do is connect it directly into the white wire on the relay. And that's it. You're not going to have any switches, you're not going to have all this stuff. All you have, if you're just getting the HID projectors, all you're going to have is your low beam plug, high beam plug, and the relay. And all you need to do is connect the high beam positive to the yellow, high beam negative to the black, and low beam positive to the white wire on the relay. And this is all your wiring. 3 connection points and you're done. It takes 2 seconds. And then all you do is plug these back into the bike and connect the relays, as I explained at the beginning of the video. Connect the relays and ground all the wires. And that's it. Now, let's take it a step further. If you're getting the HIDs and you want a switch on those HIDs, so you can turn them off, start the bike, and then turn on the headlights, what you will do, instead of connecting the low beam positive directly to the white, you're going to have a switch in between these 2 wires. So you're going to take one switch, which has 2 wires, and you're going to connect one wire from the switch to the low beam positive, and it can be any wire from the switch. There's no polarity there. They're both positive. So you're going to take one wire from the switch, connect it to your low beam positive, and the other wire from the same switch, connected to the white wire on the relay. So now all you essentially did, you still have a connection between the low beam positive and the low beam positive white wire, but now there's a switch in between, so when the switch is off, there's no electricity flowing from here to here, and your headlights don't come on. When the switch is on, electricity is flowing from low beam positive pigtail to the low beam positive relay wire, and the headlights come on. So this is the basic concept of the switches. And now let's get back to our dual halo and demonized setup. First thing we're going to take care of is our demonize. We want the demonize to be always on when the bike is running. So what we will do is connect the demonize directly to our low beam positive. So the two plugs that you twist the two red wires together, they are for the two demonize single inverters. We're going to connect this wire directly to our pigtails low beam positive. And the low beam positive, when something's connected directly to it, always supplies power when the bike is running. So the demonize are always on when the bike is running. And now we have to connect the two switches, one to our white low beam positive, and the other one, the second switch, goes to the other set of red wires for our dual halos. This other set for the dual halos that we'll be controlling with the switch. So what you want to do is take both switches, take one wire from each switch. So let's take one black wire from each switch and twist those wires together. And if you have three switches, it's always done the same. Then you twist all the three black wires on the switches together if you have three switches. And all we have to do now to get power to the switches is connect the two switch wires into our low beam positive, which already has the two reds for the demonize. So let's connect those, the two switches. Into our low beam positive. Okay, now we connected the two switches to our low beam positive and also the two red wires from the two inverters for the demonize also into our low beam positive. And the next thing we want to do is take all the ground wires from the CCFL inverters, which are the four black wires we just bunched together, and connect those directly to our low beam negative wire. So remember, all the ground wires from all your accessories always go to low beam negative. Okay, and now all we have left is our white wire from the relay, low beam positive, and the two red wires from the inverters for the dual halos. And all we have to do now, we have two switches and two loose wires. So take one switch, any switch, you take the red wire from it, and you connect the first switch wire, any one of the two switches, to our low beam positive white wire on the relay. And this provides the electricity to turn on the low beams, the headlights. And then also simply take the second switch and connect the red wire from the second switch into the two red wires from the second pair of the inverter plugs. And this pair would be on the switch, so you can turn off both halos and just run demonize. Also, you can use the second pair as for the demonize if you wanted to. So if you connect these into the two single inverters for the demonize, you can have the demonize on a switch, and the halos would then connect to the other pair, which is always on. So it's up to you how you want to connect everything. So let's connect the second pair of CCFL inverter wires. Into switch number 2. And that's it. We have completed the wiring with 2 switches. Now if you wanted to add a third switch to this same setup and have everything on a switch, the headlights on the first switch, dual halos on the second switch, demonize on the third switch, then this is the low beam positive, and the 2 reds is to power the demonize. So if you want to have them on a switch, you would not connect these to the low beam positive directly. What you would do is you would have a third switch, so instead of 2 switch black wires going to the low beam positive, you would have 3 black wires, one from each switch, basically branching 3 ways from the low beam positive, and the 2 switches we have here are connected the same way. And then basically the third switch, the red wire from the third switch, goes into these 2 reds. And that's it. That's how you connect the third switch. So basically whatever accessory you want to be always on when you start the bike, connect it here directly to the low beam positive. Whatever accessory you want to be working off of a switch, like your LED strips if you want, you would connect the reds from that accessory, the positives, to the red wire from the switch. So if you have LED strips, you can connect the red wires here, and they'll come on with the bike. Or if you want to use a switch, then you connect the red wires to the red wires from the LED strips. You connect the red wires to the red wire on the switch, on the third switch if you have a third one. So you can do as many switches as you want. But this is the basic concept. So all you have to do now is connect the low beam pigtail to your low beam plug on the bike, connect the high beam pigtail to the high beam plug on the bike, mount the switches, and these switches, they're flush mount switches. So what you have to do is drill a 3/4 inch hole and snap in the switch. A good spot for these switches is right under your handlebars. You have a flat piece of plastic, and there's usually a lot of empty space under it. So that's actually a good spot to hide the inverters, right under the handlebars plastic that goes towards the headlight. And if you drill a 3/4 inch hole in it, you're basically going to snap in the switch, and then the switch is going to be flush with your plastic, and it's going to look very clean. So mount the switches, connect these two to the dual output inverters. These two are connected directly from the low beams. Those are actually connect these two to your Gemini inverters, single output, and they're going to be powered directly from the low beam, always on when the bike is running. And the other two are connected to a switch, and that goes to your dual halos. And then mount the relay harness on the bike and connect everything as we explained previously, and you are done installing your lights. Enjoy! This kit is available on BKMOTO.com.